Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to our webinar this afternoon, Top 10 Ingredients Needed for a Successful Dining Experience. And we've got some ideas to encourage you. What I'd like to do as we start is introduce Dana Fillmore, our Gordon Food Service Healthcare Segment Manager, and myself, Sharon Carter, RD. We're hosting this webinar for our presenter, Suzanne Quiring. And I'd like to give an introduction about Suzanne and get you familiar with some of her background and credentials. Suzanne Quiring is a registered dietitian both in Canada and the US.
Whoops, I am not hearing Sharon anymore.
Are you hearing me, Suzanne?
Now I am. Go ahead.
All right. Suzanne is a member of the Dietitians of Canada, Washington State Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics, and Dietetics and Healthcare Communities. She's a certified dietary manager with ANFP. Excuse me 1 minute. Sorry about that, my battery was running low, and even though it was plugged in. And also, she's an active member of CSNM. Along with having her 2-year Continuing Care Administrator's Diploma, she volunteered as the British Columbia rep for Dietitians of Canada Gerontology Nutrition Network for the past 3 years. Suzanne has over 28 years of experience in the healthcare community food service industry as a Director of Food Services, dietitian, and consultant. And Suzanne has personally worked in all areas of residential care and has an appreciation for the practical and real challenges of providing great meal service to residents, regardless of care level. In 2000, Suzanne invented the Suzy Q cart system, which is a movement on an improved way on how we typically do meal delivery in our long-term care dining rooms, which allows for more resident interaction and choice, hotter food, and less food waste, resulting in significant savings. To date, Suzanne has helped over 800 plus communities throughout North America improve the dining experience for residents with mobile meal service. Suzanne has been published in 10 professional journals and has been a speaker at national conferences and numerous healthcare conferences. She was awarded the Marie Taylor Award for Excellence in Long-Term Care by Dietitians of Canada in 2015 and ANFP National Dining Distinction Award winner for 2020. Suzanne spends time providing education to residential care communities via webinar classes, conference speaking, and email and phone support to folks that are motivated to make a positive change in their dining room. She loves to share her passion and experience on how meal service can be done as resident-focused as possible, the culture change that is needed, and she is a big supporter of the Eden Alternative and Pioneer Network organizations. As a disclaimer, Suzanne wants you to know that Suzy Q carts are distributed nationally in the USA by Lakeside and in Canada by Russell Hendricks. Well, you can see we have a very accomplished speaker for you today. Suzanne, we're ready to hear what you've got for us.
Great, thank you, Sharon. And I hope everyone has their seatbelts on because I am gonna give you a ton of information to consider, and that's sorry. I'm just going to hide my webcam so I can see my screen, but you can still see me, so that's great. First of all, I just want to say a couple of things. When you're hearing my presentation, I need all of us just to appreciate that we all work in different settings. Number of dining rooms, your layout, the number of staff, your leadership support, the type of care that you provide. So I'm going to really hope to just provide some good nuggets of practical ideas so you get to pick and choose. And I'm just going to share a lot of ideas, a lot of resources, and hopefully these will be really practical and help you with your community. I want to challenge our status quo practice, especially in our healthcare food service arena. So please come with a very open mind. and adjust and apply for COVID situations accordingly. This is a presentation that I have put together over many years in this industry. And of course, COVID has really flipped everything on its head. But what I want you to just see when you see some of the photos I'm going to share with you is just know that some of them are with people that don't have masks on because they were taken before COVID. But just imagine the same photo with that healthcare worker with their mask on. So, okay, so that's my disclaimer. So I wanted to just talk about a positive dining experience and what is it and why does it even matter to us? And I don't think in the food service arena, in healthcare communities, we ask this question enough. So I just want to ask you 3 questions. One is, what would you give your current dining experience score? 1 being terrible and 10 being excellent. And why would you give it that score? And you might even want to kind of backtrack 6 months from now. What would you give your score pre-COVID? And what do you give it now in our COVID times right now? What are your top frustrations with your meal service experience? And what do you think are the top desires of residents regarding meal service? And these are very, very important questions. And I want you to sit with these and really think about them and kind of write out, what are your frustrations? What are the desires of residents? What is your dining experience score? And when was the last time you asked family members these questions, residents and staff? So I want you to just be challenged with that question. My journey began in 1994, kind of many years ago. I was a frustrated director of support services at Pleasant View Care Home, and I felt frustrated and really discouraged. We had so many lists in our kitchen. My food service team really never left the kitchen very much. They kind of were inside, very disconnected from the residents. There was poor teamwork between the nursing team and the food service team. They kind of always butt heads. We had a lot of food wastage. It didn't feel normal. Like, it didn't feel like this is how we ate in our own homes. It felt very institutional. Poor admin support. I never saw them in the dining room. They were sort of missing in action. They would kind of breeze in and breeze out, but never really stay in the dining room to see what was going on. Updating that endless likes and dislikes preference list. There was too much pre-pouring. There was a lack of choice. We had cold food issues and just poor connection between the food service staff and residents. So I'm curious, just by show of hands, there's the show hand button on the right-hand side of your screen. Does anybody relate to any of these? Just raise your hand if you do. Yeah, I'm seeing hands there. So I think I wasn't alone in some of that for sure. Okay, so make sure everybody is hearing me. Yeah, okay, good. So this is how we kind of did it in the back of the house. We did in the kitchen, there was a big steam table. We would read lots of lists and staff would serve up, or we would send trays to the room. And we had challenges in doing it that way. And so I went on a journey to find a better way. And after a few years, my administrator came to me and said, you know, it literally has transformed the whole heartbeat of our community here now with meal service. And I want you to write an article. And I did, and it got published. And then I started getting phone calls at work, having people ask me, how did you do that? Can you teach me? And started a movement. And actually it's over 1,000 communities now that I've had the pleasure and honor to walk alongside. So having done this for over 25 years, I kind of came up with a top 10 list of ideas to think about that dining experience. So here are mine. You might not like them all, but maybe there's something here that you would find of interest. So the first one is know and lean on research, best practices, and culture change resources, and flood others with it, teach with it, and share it with your team, and get really current as to what the research and best practices has actually done to show us and teach us. I find sometimes people are really stuck in doing best practices 20 years ago, and a lot has changed in the last few years for sure. So The quote by Maya is, do the best you can until you know better. And when you know better, you do better. And so here are my favorite research ones. The first one is the position paper from the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics that came out in April of 2018. So it's just over 2 years old, and it's the position paper. So this is pretty big. And it says the care of older individuals must meet 2 goals: maintenance of health and quality of life. And, you know, that includes the use of a least restrictive diet, appropriate particularly for older adults who choose to make quality of life and their right to make choices in daily living a priority over improving their health or increasing longevity. Interesting. When was the last time you have a copy of this paper? It's in your office and you're sharing and teaching it with your staff. The second one, which is my favorite, is the Pioneer Network Dining Standards. So this was a document. This is my copy right here. You can get it for free. It's on pioneernetwork.net, and it is full of wonderful research-based current thinking of what we should be doing in residential care and food service. And it mainly says that food and dining are an integral part of individualized care and self-directed living. Importance of food and dining is a significant element of daily living, and the most frequent questions and concerns received by regulators and providers consistently focuses on dining and food policies in homes. So this is an area of most need of national dialogue if we're to improve the quality of life of persons living in care. Big document, big statements. This is supported by your professional organization. And the standard of practice topics that are in that manual are listed all here. So my question to you is, are you up to date on all these topics and what best practices is saying? The other thing is the Pioneer Network has phenomenal dining resources. Again, these are all free. You just go to pioneernetwork.net, and there's lots and lots of good resources there. I particularly like these brochures that are available for family and residents. I know there's communities that have these brochures that inside their home and give to family members when they move in, of saying you have the right to choose, you have the right to eat real food, and you have the right to an unrestricted diet. So again, shifting the control back to the resident. And then because I work both in Canada and the US, I just wanted to share with you the 2019 Dietitians of Canada Best Practice for Nutrition, Food Service and Dining. This is also free. It's 66 pages. There's 15 topics covered. And this might be an interesting document that you might want to look at. And lastly, culture change resources. So I belong to all of these groups. I often get my email full of ideas and articles and courses and webinars. Most of them are all free, so I would highly recommend you sign up yourself and stay really current with a lot of really good information that comes. And then this is my top 10 list of other resources that I lean on myself. So that is there for your taking. Okay, so that was number 1. That was leaning on best practices. And do you know them? Number 2 tip would be to follow the food from start to finish. Stay and watch meal service, not just for 15 minutes. And what did you learn for the entire meal service? Pick up a coffee pot, get out of your office at least 1 to 2 times a week, and come alongside your staff. Have a meal with your residents in the dining room or in the hallway or wherever you need to be with them. And commit an hour to this process. It's invaluable to you. What about your director of nursing? What about your administrator? Do you ever see them? So what I would encourage you to do is actually put your management team on a coffee serving schedule where they are actually assigned a day where they come out of their office and they serve coffee. And when they get their eyeballs on the residents and the meal service and actually watch what's going on, they can gain a much better appreciation to what you're struggling with maybe when it comes to food service and food delivery and making that experience as resident focused as possible. That is not just a food service role's job to do. It's everybody's role at a community. You know that meal service is the heartbeat of every home. And so by having different leadership folks come and join alongside you and really understand what's going on can be very, very helpful. We need that leadership buy-in and support, and this is where it can really fall down. So be direct and ask what you need from them. If they don't understand the issues, they will not be able to help you. And so I want to just talk about the two kind of styles of meal service we typically see in residential care. And let's follow tray service. So this was a community of 150 residents. They had 3 separate dining rooms, and the menu that day that I went said this, very simple. Of course, there's alternatives and that sort of thing, but the point is this, is that the food is coming down from the kitchen, it has just finished tray line, and it's coming down the hall. And we're all used to seeing this. But my question is this, could an 80-year-old senior actually eat and drink all of this food? It's incredibly institutional looking too. I don't know about you, but I don't own a plastic tray like this in my own home. I don't own a dome cover, and I don't have all this plasticness. So, you know, it's institutional looking. The food might be great underneath all of this, but we eat with our eyes first, and I don't know, doesn't look as great as it could be. The actual interesting part of it is that this one dining room that I went to with 42 trays, the trays were picked up at the end of the meal service and put in the slots to go back to the dish room to get cleaned. And you actually look at these trays and you think, oh my goodness, did they really actually want all of this? And I would say on average, there's about 30 to 50% food wastage on trays. This is the food wastage after 42 trays. All of this food and beverages is going down the sink or the disposal. So how much money is here? And this is the exercise that is invaluable to do. Grab your phone, take a photo, and document how much money is going down the disposal. It is shocking. And this is where you have money to make positive change. And we actually have had research done back in 1997, so over 20 years ago, we've known this, that tray service does cost more, meal acceptability is less, and the quantity of the resources needed to do it is greater. So the question is why are we doing tray service? And I'll explain that a little bit more. The second way is the servery system. So the classic where the food service staff stand on one side of a steam table and the nursing staff typically come on to the other side of the table and they pick up plates of food. And I call this the throw and go method. There's a lot of running back and forth. Again, this is a photo, of course, pre-COVID, because the residents aren't all socially distanced, but even so, I want you to look at this photo and realize, okay, spread the residents out even more. You know, there's even more walking back and forth, and have a lot of assumptions are made and a lot of running. And what's happening is the food service staff and the nursing staff tend to have a conversation between them and following tickets, but no one is really talking to the residents. So the residents are just waiting for food to be dished up for them and brought to them. And it is boring. They are bored. The question is, where's the show? So with that style of meal service too, is how much food waste? Is it measured? Do you take photos? Can you make a case for change and really show it to your decision makers and educate them? There's a way to do it better and to find it, said Thomas Edison, who invented the light bulb. So, you know, I think there is. So number 3 tip would be this, is do an anonymous dining experience survey. So what would your customers give your dining experience? What is their top frustrations? And how do you really know? And I find that most food managers don't actually really know. They actually don't have current survey results. So you need to have some sort of system to measure how well, not just, you know, did you like this meal, but the overall experience about that. And if it's done anonymously, it's going to be more honest. So you might need to mail it out to family members. You might need to do a Survey Monkey There was a recent poll done by the Senior Dining Association that showed that 55% of communities do resident surveys. So it's about half. And I think we can do better than that. Most food managers actually give the dining experience score only as a range of 5.4. So if it's not a 9 or a 10, be open to some ideas today. And what I currently hear constantly from food managers is this: they're struggling with cold food. There's a lot of food waste, updating the likes and dislikes list, the poor customer service piece to the residents and their interaction, and the lack of choice. And choice doesn't just mean chicken or fish. Choice can mean, would you like that and how much? And do you want gravy on the side? That's what I mean by true choice. And that's what residents want. They want choice. They want proper temperature and size of the meal. They want to be shown dignity and respect by communicating directly with them. To even talk to them, even if staff think that they're too confused to make a decision. And the research from the Pioneer Network proves that that is not true. Residents can still make decisions. We need to maybe change how we're asking the question and not to decide for them, unless you haven't given, first give them the opportunity to try and communicate, and then make an educated decision if you can't. But good observation skills and collaboration really helps. Okay, number 4 is shifting from a predetermined meal service to a self-determined one. So stay with me on this one. It's really coming down to more self-directed living. We all like different choices. We all eat differently. We all like different things. So this is how this can be done really well, is try a beverage cart, try a mobile food cart, try a soup cart, a dessert cart, try an action station in the dining room, try a pie buffet or fondue for something different. And again, pie buffet for staff to, serve accordingly. And we'll talk about food safety in a second. And some fun snack theme carts. Much better satisfaction results, hotter food, less waste, and major cost savings. So these are some fun photos that I saw on LinkedIn from different communities that posted about what they were doing during COVID. And they were bringing choices to the residents. And I mean, they're just fun, they're great. And here are some ice cream carts as well that different communities did. Again, it's on wheels, it can move to the residents, wherever the residents are. And so we must move away from predetermined choices and go mobile. So it's similar to being on an airplane and receiving beverage service. And if we can get beverage service and choices at 30,000 feet in the sky as to what we like to drink, we can do this in residential care. And it's actually kind of fun. There's choices and you're more inclined to drink it. So you're not getting orange juice every day because your ticket said that you like orange juice. I like orange juice, but I also like cranberry juice. I also like apple juice. Some days I just want water. Some days I'm not really that thirsty. Give me the choice. And that is what a beverage service can look like. So hopefully you are doing this, that you have clear jugs of beverages and choices. And because the care staff wouldn't be running back and forth with lots of trays or pre-plating food, you can actually give this role to them. And it is part of their job description because they are pushing fluids, increasing hydration, which means less UTIs, less confusion, better skin integrity, all that good stuff, which is all part of a nursing role. So we are not doing any tickets. There's no pre-pouring or anything. And we are encouraging, residents are getting beverages that they actually want. And if you get what you want, you're more inclined to drink it. So when I go into homes and I see this going on the table, I just go, I already know. It's not going to be a great dining experience. If you go and you ask people what they would like, it is much better received. So hello, choice. Another cart choice that you can get going is a cereal cart. You can get these jugs from your cereal supplier. You can get a crock pot and put the hot cereal in. You can have sliced bananas on the side. Again, we're not doing tickets saying that this person gets Raisin Bran every day until the sheet is changed. And that's what we had at the other home I was managing is we had cereal sheets, we had juice sheets, we had all these different sheets until someone changed the sheet. And it's like, good grief, we can do better than that. And so how many cereal options do you have in your own home yourself? And we should be able to do that. And soup service, again, very, very simple. That's what I love about these photos, is that simple. It doesn't cost money to really do this. Hot soup choices, and we can get creative with our crackers. We can do cheese biscuits, we can do pita quarters, scones, homemade buns, soft breadsticks. Again, it's not always a one brand of cracker. And this was shared with me by Northern Health Authority. They implemented soup carts in all their communities, and they just said this was some feedback that they had received from staff members saying, I would just like to thank the food service staff on providing choices of soup now to our residents. Fabulous. And then meal service. We can do tableside dining as well as hallway dining with mobile carts. So it's putting the meal choices on the carts, unplugging the carts, and off you go. And the staff are using food safe principles and serving accordingly by connecting and asking the residents what they would like. And this is working in all levels of care: congregate care, assisted living, skilled nursing care, memory care, dementia care, brain injury, you name it. It's in every type of scenario for care. So don't get hung up on, well, our residents are this type and put them in a box. Know that this is working everywhere. There's a lot of flexibility. You save a ton of money so that you use that money and you put it back into your menu and you buy better quality things. I never would give it back to my accountant. I would always want to keep it in my kitchen. So our menu got better, and we were able to buy better things. It was good. And so what this picture shows you, okay, now with COVID, I get it, is this cook would have a mask on now, but imagine it, is that the cook and the food service worker here, you can see her head right here, they're working together off a cart, and they're coming out into the dining room, and they're talking and showing the residents what their choices are and then serving accordingly. And for our residents with dementia, this is extremely helpful. And the research has actually shown that food complaints diminish on sites where residents know and relate to those people actually cooking the food, because there's a relationship, which is great. I also had an executive chef tell me that he saved over $90,000 in his menu just by moving to this style of meal service. He used that $90,000 back in his menu. So again, you can load the food up. This is what the food can look like in the carts. Of course, you can use flip lids to cover the food. So, you know, that's available, right? You just put those over top of the inserts and you can serve the food. It can travel, it can go down in elevators, it can go in hallways, and the residents, whether this is an assisted living community, can get the choices they want. And like I said, with covering food, we can use rolling shave cover, dish covers, we can use flip lids, and we can use sneeze guards. I actually wrote an article that got published in ANFP, The Edge, in November of 2019 about protecting food. Sneeze guards are not the only answer for protecting food, because sneeze guards are helpful when the general public is serving them. What you're looking for is an active managerial plan, and there is a health inspector quoted in the article all about this. So you might want to check that out. If you need that article or want that article, I'm happy to email it over to you so you can read it. And this was interesting. 2 senior living communities were actually featured in foodmanagement.com publication. One was last month in July, and one was in May. Sorry, my circles moved there, but showing how they are doing cart-based meals at their communities, because their dining rooms were closed. So how did they bring the choices to the residents? So really, it's quite easy. The carts are loaded up with their choices. A cook will do a 2-minute sound off as to what's in each cart. The carts are unplugged. They go wherever they need to be, and then they're served, and then they return to the kitchen, unloaded, and repeated. So what this community did was actually remove their whole tray line. This is their ice machine here. So this is the after picture. The ice machine's here. So you can sort of see it's the same space in the kitchen. But instead of the tray line, they loaded it up with 6 carts here, which they then fill up with food, unplug, and they brought electrical down from the ceiling, and off they go. And then lastly, you can get a dessert cart going. This is great. Residents love it. Basket of fresh fruit, a dessert of the day, puddings, all that sort of thing. It's a great way to use leftovers, and you can put actually an aerosol can of whipped cream on your dessert cart and decorate it right in front of the residents. It's bringing the show to the residents, and that's one thing that I think we need to do a little bit better in residential care, is bringing the show, meal service show. You know, when you go to a restaurant and they have the open kitchen and you can sort of see what's going on, that's sort of the same concept here. So instead of doing the dining room run or tray line and reading lots of lists, go bulk mobile and spend that time instead talking to the residents and let them decide every day at every meal. This does not require more staffing. It does not take any more time. It's just a redirection of the resources and the hands on deck that you do have. And our goal is to move with the food choices and get as close as you can that's safe to do so, to give your residents a daily opportunity to say what they would like. It's respectful. So if you are having too many lists, and I like this cartoon by John McPherson, because I think sometimes this is how our poor food service staff sometimes feel, is just trying to keep it all straight. Like, what does John really want? Does he like this or not? This was actually one of 10 pages of a preference list I found at one community I went to. And I just thought, oh gosh, can you imagine being a casual cook coming in and doing that shift? Crazy. So, you know, I'm asking you the questions, do staff make too many assumptions on behalf of your residents? And I saw this, this poster, and it really stuck with me because it says, I may not be able to talk, but I can still see and think and hear and love and hurt and laugh and feel. And I think that's true for our residents as well. So it's the eye contact, it's talking to the residents first, it's bringing choice, and it's really personal. And getting down to the residents level and really listening and hearing what they have to say. This is my favorite photo of all times. I went to this community and they were serving a resident, and the resident just wanted mashed potatoes with lots of gravy. The menu meet all the licensing standards and everything, but what our resident chose to have and wanted to have was just mashed potatoes with gravy. And I'm like, all the power to them. So they should. And so we can go down hallways, we can be in dining rooms, we can do this in a palliative care hospital setting as well. And we are seeing trends of this in seniors dining. We are seeing more communities that are being built with open kitchens and bistros. I'm seeing food trucks showing up at homes. I'm seeing cooking shows. We're ordering, residents even ordering online and getting delivery, or their grandkids delivery, ordering for them. So, times will be changing, and if COVID didn't make us change, it certainly was time to do that. All right, number 5 is shifting to a hospitality model, dining etiquette, and really challenging our institutional language. So it's really moving away from that very clinical hospital model, because the research is showing it is not working. That we're really clear on what our dining etiquette needs to be and changing our language so we sound better. So if you are called Director of Dietary, I want to challenge you to rethink your title. Maybe it should be Hospitality Team Leader, or Dining and Hospitality Manager, Culinary Manager, Dining Experience Manager, or Dining Coordinator. That just sounds more hospitable than Director of Dietary. Very old school. Same with Dietary Aide, Server, Waitstaff, Hostess, Dining Service Advocate, I've seen on badges before, a Dining Service Assistant, or Nutrition Partner. Wonderful, wonderful culture change language. And I actually wrote an article again, in ANFP that you can grab called language and culture change. And these are our old words and then our new words that we should be using in our industry. So I encourage you to find the article. Again, if you need that article, I can send it to you, but you know, there's a whole list here. And so I've actually printed this and posted it inside the kitchen to help staff change their language. And again, serving and etiquette training. Do you spend time with your staff actually training them on how to serve well? Let's face it, some of our staff have really just come from maybe not necessarily the hotel or restaurant industry. So they don't know. And so we need it as leaders, we need to teach them how to serve well. A warm welcome, a fond farewell, good eye contact, using their preferred name, introducing the food item at the table, wait, listen, and then serve, talking to them directly and empowering the residents, serve on the left, remove from the right, clean serving aprons and name tag, and smile. And I like this acronym of service because I think it's just allows staff to be mindful as to what is the expectation when it's mealtime. I'll be honest with you, I've heard nursing staff say to me, oh, I'm so glad when it's lunchtime because then I can just get off my feet and have a break. This isn't break time, people. This is a very concentrated, all hands on deck and keeping residents nourished. And so just to be mindful of that. And I want to just highlight this community, Lakeside Healthcare Nutrition Services. They together as a team actually wrote a mission statement, which is provide exceptional dining experience. No food leaves our kitchen we ourselves would not eat. Be loose and have fun. I love it. And this is posted right inside their kitchen. And so every time they're in and out of their kitchen, they are mindful as to why they're there. All right, number 6 is your appearance. How does your team look? Everything from a clean apron, how is your hair restrained, the name tag, and really shifting and looking at the hospitality hotel industry. And what do we see in those arenas? Do you need to invest in some black and white serving aprons, a jacket, or a vest? Does your culinary team look professional? What about a chef's hat? And again, residents love it. So I would love to see this being the look in residential care, healthcare communities. We really need to shift this. Trust me, I am all about food safety, back of the house, isolation procedures, you know, hair restrained in the kitchen, using gloves appropriately when we're using ready to eat foods. We need to wash our hands, we need to use tongs, we need HACCP, we need to take temperatures, we need all that food safety stuff for sure. But how we actually serve needs to look differently in a safe way, of course. All right, number 7 is food needs to look good, taste good, and be creative. So as a mantra, as a dietitian, clinical dietitian, I believe that food is only nourishing if people eat it. You need to work with your vendors and partners to stretch your money. I know there's communities that only have $6 to $8 a day to feed a resident. So it's not a lot of money. How do we stretch that? What products are out there that can really help us elevate that dining experience for residents with limited resources? And I get it for sure. You know, maybe we need to train our food service staff better. Maybe there's some continuing education courses, even learning how to plate well, how to garnish well, and the teamwork between the cooks, the certified dietary manager, and the clinical dietitian. You're all leaders in the food service arena, and just making sure you're on the same team. I hear a lot of turf wars is, you wouldn't believe our dietitian, she's crazy, or you know, whatever. I think you really need to come together as cooks, food managers, and clinical dietitians, and really come together and realize you're on the same team. And how can we make this dining experience amazing so that residents aren't losing weight, so residents are eating the food that we are working so hard to buy and prepare and cook and serve. and just being aware of that. I wanted to show you this idea. You know, a lot is getting creative with pureed foods, and the high heat piping bags are available for pureed foods, and you can just keep those right on the food cart and create them tableside if you wish. Pipe it right in front of the residents, or use your molds. Remember, appearance matters versus the 3-scoop special, which I would often see the care staff stirring together and shoveling it in, standing above residents. No, no, no. Those days are over. So we really need to be aware of that. And some other fun ideas are action stations, residents actually watching breakfast getting made. We can still do this in COVID times. You just put a piece of plexiglass up here and they can see through it. And the cook would have a mask on. It's really no different. A concierge table to greet residents in the dining room right here, just this very simple thing. And if you had your director of culinary or dining experience stand here and greet residents into the dining room, you know, that can be a fun thing to do. Post a question of the day under your menu board. What was your favorite job? Your most unusual vacation? Tell us what pets you had. You know, getting china cups from the thrift store. This was $1. You know, why do we save these for the special once a month tea? Maybe this should be everyday china that we can use. It's $1. Getting some centerpieces. Approach your local florist, your grocery store, your garden center, and see if they're open to donate any fresh centerpieces or plants or flowers. They often go in the garbage. Maybe a Spotify subscription for $100 a year and play music from the 30s and 40s, their generation, not ours. And having a set greeting, blessing, or gratitude story before each meal. I've gone into a community and they did this beautifully. You know, they just took 1 minute, everyone stops, and they take a minute to be grateful. It's beautiful. And again, just some special fun ways to jazz up a meal service. Number 8 is don't be shy to ask for help. How does your dining room feel? Is it depressing? Is it old? Is it tired? Does it reflect your dining experience? Does it need a facelift? Do you need some new curtains and paint and pictures and lights and tablecloths and dishware? Do you need better equipment? What about a capital campaign and communicate your needs that way? You know, there's grants out there. You need to find and ask what money is out there outside of day-to-day operations. And you might want to communicate those needs to family and residents via your newsletter. So family and friends might want to help. They might actually want to give a private donation to go towards improving your dining room. But if you don't ask, you won't receive. And I just wanted to show you this example from Barnabas Camp. So this was a camp that my family attended for years, and we get their newsletter. And so on their little newsletter, they actually write at the bottom here what their wish list is. They wanted a Suburban, they wanted a ski boat, they wanted a golf cart, and they wanted some furniture. And would you believe it, 4 months later, they actually got a Suburban, they got a wood chipper, and they got new yard furniture. So I think when you communicate what your needs are, it's amazing what and who will show up for it. So this was actually in a local paper where this care home wanted to get a Suzy Q cart, but they didn't have the money in operations to do it. So they put the need out, and then sure enough, the Lions Club and some donations from family and friends came together, and it actually made the paper. So I thought that was kind of fun. If you want to learn about great equipment, by the way, consider attending the NAFM show. You know, I guess now with COVID, if it's going to be a go or not is of interest. But I've gone to this show twice now. It happens every 2 years. There's over 600 food equipment vendors that show up, and it's amazing. It takes 3 full days. And if you want to see what's new and interesting and innovative in food equipment, check this show out. It's pretty incredible. So when I talk about how does the dining room feel, I want you to just look at this picture, because this was the picture sent to me. And actually the food manager was showing me this picture just from a totally different perspective, just talking about meal service and that sort of thing. But what I noticed right away was how this dining room looked tired. I didn't know what this green thing was hanging from the wall. This picture is much too small. The room feels gray. It's not very fun. Versus you go into other senior living communities and this is what you can see. And what is the difference between this and this? Money, right? Is investing into the right resources to make the dining room feel. If you don't ask for the funds, you'll never get here. So what I'm saying to you is I want to encourage you by asking for funds and keep dreaming big. You never know what might be out there that might get donated or given to you. And actually the Research Institute of Aging from the University of Waterloo actually did a research-based study about the dining room. And they actually came up with a checklist. So this is research-based. So I would encourage you to go to their website right here and print off the checklist and see how you're doing. This is then something you can give to your administrator and say, you know, we need to invest in our dining room. Okay, number 9, we're almost done, is use social media in a positive way to highlight your menu, your specials, your team, your events, that sort of thing. This is extremely important right now, especially with COVID. Sometimes family and friends have no idea what's going on because they're not allowed in the community. But if you can take some fun photos and really show what your staff is doing, it can go miles. And grandchildren are always on social media. So if they can see fun photos of the home that their grandma lives in, I think this is an amazing thing. So this is free. You just take photos, and as long as you have people's permission, then you can do that. So I think this can be a very fun way to do things. Again, imagine this with people with masks on, but generally this is a fun thing. And if you don't do it in a positive way, what can happen is upset family members can do it in a negative way. And so this is a true story that happened. Darlene Mitchell went to go visit her dad at Christmas. She was so upset about her dad's meal that he got at Christmas that she posted it on social media. It was shared, picked up by the news agency, and it was shared 381 times with 1,500 negative comments in just 2 days. This story went international, went all the way over to Europe. This was another one that happened in Australia, same thing. And so what happens is that the amount of PR that has to rectify something negative like this is really hard. So just be ahead of it. And then lastly, an enhanced dining committee learning circle. So I ask you if you have this. Do you have a team where you get together, you have clear goals as to the hopes of your dining room, clear defined roles and responsibilities of all team members during a meal hour? Research has actually shown over in Europe that it's a protected meal hour is that all hands on deck during that meal time. And it just increases many outcomes in a positive way. Doing a needs assessment, setting goals, dreaming together, but this requires leadership. And what I would encourage you to do is actually get your learning circle together, about 8 to 10 people. These are your yes people. Do not invite the naysayers, the ones that hate every idea that you come up with, because you'll never change them. Put your energy into people that will dream with you and think bigger and better. Because what happens is when that core group gets together and dreams and goes forward, it brings along the other 80% of people. The bottom 10%, you'll never keep them happy, and they'll either eventually come along or leave, which is a desired result either way. So I encourage you to get centered together. And you know, this is an example that Rockwood Care Center did in Spokane, Washington. They did a pre and post study on temperature, self-determination, second helpings, portion sizes, and delivery time. And then they came together, changed things, and then they did a post study of it. And they just really did a phenomenal job. This is a home in Tennessee. They actually won the state award for innovation by doing buffet dining at your door. which is amazing that they won the state award for that. So to summarize, 1 is lean on research, best practices, and culture change resources to lead your way. 2, follow the food from start to finish for the meal hour. What did you notice? 3, do an anonymous dining experience survey. 4 is move with the food choices to maximize choice and self-determination. 5, dining etiquette and institutional language, really shifting to a hospitality model. 6, how does your team look, their appearance? Food needs to look good and taste good and be creative outside of the standard way would be number 7. Number 8, don't be shy to ask for your needs. Make your space beautiful and get the right equipment. 9 is use social media to communicate in a positive way and beware of the negative effects of it. And 10, have an enhanced dining committee learning circle and get your entire team talking and excited about what can be done. That's my top 10. I'm gonna pass it over to Dana for some Q&A time, but I just wanted to end with this about from the Pioneer Network. It says, resident satisfaction with the quality of food and the dining experience should be a home's priority. And I just wanted to say a special thank you to the communities that have shared their photos with me and then with you for educational purposes. Dana, I'll take it. Oh, and that's my contact information if you want any information. And I just wanted to say too, because Gordon Foods asked me to communicate this, is that the Suzy Q cards that I mentioned in the presentation are available through Gordon Food Services. That is the website there. There's brochures, and then there's 2 sizes of the Suzy Q, and it comes with a staff education training manual. So lots of tidbits and ideas and resources in there. So Dana, I'll pass it over to you and we'll do some Q&A together.
Sounds good. Wow, Suzanne, what wonderful advice. I just love listening to you and all the wealth of what you have seen over the years, all pulled together into a top 10. That was a fantastic presentation. Thank you.
Thank you.
And we do have some good questions here. We're going to keep making you think.
I will do my best.
All right. So the first question is, how do you handle allergies when using a mobile dining cart with multiple meal options?
Yeah, no, that's a really good question. You know, we still need to, as dietitians, we still need to communicate to our food service staff textures and allergies and that sort of thing. So that still has to be communicated, because if it wasn't, that would be a problem. So you can still have a sheet on the cart. The Suzy Q actually comes with a binder holder where you keep all the diet textures and allergy information and that sort of thing. But what I'm trying to communicate is that we don't need to write on a sheet whether someone likes corn or not, because we're going to talk to them and we're going to ask them. And if they don't, then an option is available for them. But yes, you still need to deal with allergies. That is important.
Yeah, thank you. So this question is a good one too. Have your clients that switch to bulk mobile carts been able to reduce FTEs at all, or does it increase it or neutral?
No, it's neutral. It's always the same, because you still need the same hands on deck to do the job. All you're doing is reorganizing their tasks. So you take their job description and you literally blow it up and you start fresh and you say, okay, instead of running back and forth with trays or pre-plated meals, what you're going to do instead is you're going to just move around with a cart and ask them what they would like to drink, or go around with a dessert cart or that sort of thing. But no, if this required more FTEs, nobody would do it, because no one has any money to hire more staff. It's using the hands on deck that you have. And so that's also looking at your nursing staff, because the nursing staff are also part of usually delivering trays and that sort of thing, but they're not going to be doing that anymore. They can be given a task of a beverage cart or, you know, that sort of thing. So it doesn't require any more staffing. I don't think it reduces staffing either. And I like to keep the staff hands on deck. I think that that's important. We're already stretched already, so I think, yeah, no, doesn't change.
Okay, good. Well, and then a couple more questions before we move on to Sharon with Gordon Food Service Resources. One is, how many options can generally be served? I'm thinking about how many always available items are offered.
Yes, so that's a really good question. Every home is unique with their menu and what choices they offer and that sort of thing. I'll tell you what standard is, and then you can kind of play with it there. So I'll just flip actually over to the Suzy Q cart here, is that it's 2 full-size wells and then a condiment rail, a plate warming shelf here, and then a warming drawer option here, and then an empty drawer here. So this cart usually serves 20 to 40 residents, and that's with all the puree, minced, chopped, and regular textures. The trick is to use the right size insert pans. So insert pans come 2-inch, 4-inch, and 6-inch deep. And then they come 1/9, 1/6, 1/3, 1/4, 1/2, and full. So you want to use the right size insert. So it takes sometimes a run through the menu cycle 1 or 2 times to kind of go, oh, we should have used the 6-inch deep 1/3 insert instead of the 4-inch 1/2 to fit all the choices on. But you can just write it right on your menu. So that next time that week 2 Wednesday is on, you know what size insert. But usually it's 2 choices, and it's amazing how much food you can get on. The mini Suzy Q, which just goes into a regular 110 plug, so just a regular plug in the wall, is great for 10 to 20 residents. It actually got invented, there was a palliative care unit at a hospital, and they said, we don't want to send trays of food to our palliative folks. We want to give them as much choice at end of life. Sometimes they just want some ginger ale. Sometimes they just want a boiled egg. Sometimes they want the beef stroganoff. Why don't we just put the choices here and ask them what they would like? And that's actually how the mini Suzy Q got invented. And then we had memory care and dementia care areas that typically are under 20 residents, and this is what they use. So it really depends on your layout, the number of choices you have, but also using the right size inserts.
Yeah, that sounds important, those inserts. Yeah. Okay, one last question before we move on to resources. Do you have any advice on how to get a medical director and director of nursing on board with liberalized diets?
Yes, I do. Yes.
Source number 1, yes.
And you know why? It's because out of the 12 organizations that support the dining standards, 6 of them are nursing. And so what I would say is that to print this off and highlight and tag it like I have with all my sticky notes here, and just talk about, you know, the importance of dining. The other thing is a dining circle. Like I said in my number 10 point right here, is to get the right leadership. And so I know directors of care can be really progressive, and then some are old school and it's more difficult. And so I would flood them with best practices, examples. I have a ton of resources too, so if you need anything, please do reach out to me. I'm happy to flood you with lots of resources too. And you know, when people know better, they do better. And so maybe part of the conversation needs to be changing the culture behind dining. So that's what I would say.
Yeah, it's good advice. When people know better, they do better.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's all we have for our Q&A right now. Sharon, we'll move on to you.
Sure. Okay. Also, again, thank you, Suzanne. I really had a couple of takeaways I liked. Just the simple things that don't cost any money. Start talking to residents and how that increases their food satisfaction. That's free. That's something we can all do. And the social media. What a great idea. Like you said, the grandkids are watching, you know, what the grandparents are doing. And it's free. And it really boosts up the morale. And then that hospitality team is awesome. What a great idea. So along with that, I wanted, what came to my mind is we have an in-service courtesy and hospitality. It would be a great resource, and it's under our food service training topics. And that would be a great resource for all of you managers to train your staff on how to be more courteous and hospitable to the people in the dining room that they're talking to. And then also I wanted to point out under our resources, the coronavirus support resource page. Once you click on this, it is your portal to so many resources. If you haven't been there yet, please visit that place and you will see that something there that's going to meet your needs during this time of when you need extra support with the coronavirus. All right, well, I think that wraps it up for today. Thank you everybody for attending, and thank you, Suzanne. We really appreciated your webinar.
Thank you, everybody. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.